Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Impact Hour. And today's our guest is Lokeshwari. And before we jump into the interview with her, I would like to share a few words about her. She is a versatile artist and a scholar with a rich background in classical dance and academia. Holding certifications in Kathak and Rabindranathya from prestigious institutions, she has a history of extensive national and international performances. She holds a master's degree in history and an MPhil from in women's studies from Jadavpur University and a master's in migration studies from University of Kottayur. She has taught at the Indian Embassy in Beijing and uh, and in many different countries, inspiring through her academic and performance activities.
Yes. Hello. Am I audible?
Hello. Yes, you're audible. You're looking so great. And it's
Thank
so
you.
nice to have you finally.
Thank you so much. I just adjust this a bit. And yeah, I think we are good. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Sahithi, for inviting me. And I'm really looking forward to this.
Let's start off with where you are now.
I'm presently in a very beautiful village called Biot,
Okay.
Biot. This is where I live. It is in between Nice and Cannes
Okay.
in France.
That's great. And let's jump into our first question then.
Mhm.
And so your journey has been impressive, and there is a lot of intertwining of Kathak Academy and a lot of research. So what kind of brought this all together? What was that point which inspired you, encouraged you, and drove you towards this beautiful journey of Kathak?
So for me, actually, there was no point because Kathak has been with me like we have water in our life. And that is all thanks to my guru, to my mother, Shurangama Lala Dasgupta, because thankfully I was born in her womb. And from then onwards, I heard all the parant, I heard tal, music, and it was like a very natural thing that yes, Kathak is a part of life. But at the same time, I would also like to mention that she never ever imposed, that you have to take this path.
Right,
It was my decision. Like when I grew older, of course, I mean, when I'm 3 years old, when I'm doing my first performance, then it's everything is natural, it's a part of life. But when I grew older, when I had my own mind and everything, then it was completely my decision and it was natural and at the same time something which I really wanted to do in my life. And as you already introduced me there, I have also done bookish academics like university degrees and whatever.
a
But
lot of
still,
it.
yeah, but still, I wanted to be in performance art, and I do not see performance art different from academia
Right,
because what we tend to do in general is that we say, okay, history, geography, science, dance, music, theater.
right,
But once you start learning dance, music, theater, art, visual arts, sculpture, anything, performance art
right.
or any other creative art, then you realize that it has everything. Like you cannot be a sculptor if you do not know chemistry. I cannot
Exactly.
be a tabla artist or a dance artist if I don't know maths. Maybe
Right.
I suck in algebra, but I really am very good in my Tal mathematics.
Right.
That is also math. So I do not see performance art and creative arts as different from academia. This is very
Right.
important for me, you
Right.
know.
So the womb of all this passion and freedom began of Kathak basically began from uh, the time before you were in the womb, and this is the legacy has been there. As I also know the story of Ma and how it actually is coming from your generations that you are carrying forward. That is beautiful. Moving to our next question.
It's really a
Uh,
blessing, absolutely.
yes, your dissertation, like the retelling Kathak, a journey through court, celluloid, and the contemporary stage, suggests a transformation in how Kathak is usually, perceived. So, what is this? What do you have to say about this transformative narrative?
So, uh, like any other dance and music genre,
Right,
Kathak has also been influenced by the changes in the history, the the trajectory of politics, and everything. Like from
right,
ancient India, then medieval, Mughal influence, Sultanate influence. Then we have
right,
the colonial period. So it has had its journey, ups and downs, and everything. Like
right,
also flamenco and Bharatanatyam, all other, it has its journey. But
right,
what I find really special in Kathak is that Kathak still proudly adheres to its secular history. And it's very important to say this now at this juncture
right, right.
that
Yes,
Kathak is the only classical dance form which proudly does salam and pranam together. We
that's beautiful.
wear our anarkali and we wear our ghagra choli, both costumes with equal love and respect. And we really need to say this a lot more, that we have this. So Kathak is very special. This is why, because it has imbibed within itself all these cultural influences, religious influences, human influences, anthropological influences, and everything.
Right,
And this is what Kathak is now, as we see. And because Kathak has this ability, like water, to take any shape, but the composition of water doesn't change. So the grammar of Kathak is there, but we can perform a Macbeth with Kathak. Like when my mother did Macbeth, the review came out that she's perhaps the best lady to perform
Macbeth.
Macbeth. And we can do a very contemporary piece. I mean, with, I don't know, we can choreograph something with Kathak, with the present political tensions, environmental issues, and everything. So
Mhm.
I see Kathak as a very contemporary art, but very much rooted as well.
Right. It's it's diverse, but at the same time it carries the heritage, but
Yes.
secular heritage of all different. It's an amalgamation of different
Yeah.
cultures, and
And
that's
the
very true.
strength,
Like unless you put it this way, I couldn't
yes,
see it. Yeah,
and the strength is the act of storytelling, because the word Kathak means storytelling.
right,
So Katha kahe, so Katha kehlave. So we tell stories. So we can tell actually any story. It doesn't mean that we have to tell some old mythological story only. We can tell any story and the language will be our dance.
right.
It's like that.
Beautiful, as usual.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, so moving to the next question, you were in Beijing and you taught there in the embassy. So, how was it? Like, what did you do there, impactfully, or what did you learn from that whole cultural diversity? And how did you use performance art and dance as one of the most important mediums to bridge and bring more oneness and bridge more differences of this beautiful diversity?
So I was in Beijing for almost 3 years, actually, yeah, 3 years, and It's a posting from ICCR, and ICCR sends dance teachers, yoga teachers, music teachers to different embassies in their cultural center. So our center's name was Swami Vivekanand Cultural Center, SVCC,
Right.
and I had almost 200 students. 95% were all Chinese or not Indians, maybe other nationalities.
Okay.
And it was a very enriching experience because I always believe that until and unless you start teaching, you cannot learn.
Yeah.
So you learn, especially for me, I learned since when I was 2.5 or 3. And so I do not remember that how I learned because, of course, I was so little, so small.
Yes. And it
Now,
was
when I,
ingrained in you.
yes, and now when I start teaching, I see all these subtle nuances and everything. So it's a very enriching experience to teach. It's absolutely, I love teaching. And I would say that in China, I had the best time because there are some cultural similarities, this respect to teachers, bringing fruits for the teacher, taking care of the teacher, which was very heartwarming. I
Right.
really enjoyed those moments with my students. They were like my family there because I didn't know anyone in Beijing when I went, and now I know so many people. And embassy did many cultural endeavors which were really successful.
Right.
And I was very happy because we did Tagore birthday celebrations, like in the universities, in old Beijing, old town, just in a yard. And
Right.
we did many cultural exchanges. Many musicians and troops came from India. They performed in Beijing. So it was really actually, like you said, bridging. It was like a bridge. And we also collaborated with Chinese musicians,
Okay.
Chinese classical dancers, bringing Indian music and Indian instruments and Chinese instruments together. My guru, my mother, when she conducted workshops, my brother, who's a great musician and a theater artist, he also conducted so many workshops. So it was very nice because a Chinese person playing the tabla, maybe an Indian musician playing the Chinese instruments. I cannot
Right.
remember them. Sorry.
Right. Right.
And so it was actually that. It was a real exchange, like exchange of instruments, exchange of the stories. Then it was also like enacting some Chinese folk stories in the folk tales in the class through Kathak,
Wow.
and
Wow.
things like this. Then I did one performance which was like fusion, मतलब beyond fusion. It was with Beethoven's symphony, Chinese classical dance, Odissi, and Kathak.
Wow.
So that was really, and for that also, my inspiration is my guru because she started this Kathak with symphony. And so, yeah, I mean, it was. So then you actually know that actually through culture, through music, through dance, through art, actually there is no barrier, you know.
Yes.
They
Yes.
come together, merge together, gel together, and then they create these spectacles.
Yeah, I think it's also the personality. Like every personality will pick different categories of combinations, like you picked up dance with women's studies, with migration, and then international performances, and then bringing things together. And some people take what, based on their personalities. And the beauty is everybody brings out a different combination and outcome
Yes.
and their version of the story comes out through that performance.
Yeah.
So, moving to our next question, during the lockdown, I think it has been one of the most pressing times for everybody because people had a chance to face themselves alone. And there was a lot of things that would come to the surface. So during these times, how did your love and passion and your art evolve into something more, I would say, sustainable and more fun?
So what happened was it was a drastic change for my life because I was in China. We had to come back, and my tenure was over by then because it's a contractual thing.
Hmm.
And suddenly coming back to Kolkata. And in 3 years in China, I actually did at least 98 performances. So it was like every week some performance. And from that, 3 years of not seeing the stage at all. Even if you see the stage, it's for making some video, there's no real audience.
Right.
Every day in Beijing, I'm teaching 30 students in 3, 4 batches. I'm seeing them. And then you are stuck to the screen for 2 years. Hmm? So it was very challenging. But at the same time, I always say this, it opened so many new avenues. And also this possibility or this thinking that I can learn something online and I do not need to be there in this city with my teacher like
Right.
live or physically present. Like today, just before this interview, my kids who they live in Shanghai, one lives in Singapore,
Right.
they are learning from me for 2 years now or 2.5 years, and they did their exam, and they
Okay.
have never met me actually, but they are touched with doing so good. So that
That's
this
great.
thing is possible. This is a gift, the positive gift of pandemic. I mean, we had terrible times. We lost so many
Right.
friends, family. It was absolutely grilling times. But at the same time, we always need to find the silver lining. So it was amazing. This online teaching, I really enjoy it. And
That's wonderful.
Another gift was doing screen dance.
Hmm.
So my brother,
Right.
he taught himself how to make films and edit, and so we started making dance videos.
Okay.
And YouTube and everything became like accessible. Like, oh, I can be on YouTube as well, and these things. This was really another door opened, and actually, there were many applications for screen dance. We could apply, get grants and stuff like that. So this
Right.
has opened a new media in live performance that you can be. There's no need to go on stage always, and there. So I really appreciate this that this has come up. So I would
In
say
fact,
that these are the positive things.
I started the doing the Instagram live videos only after the pandemic hit. Before that, I would go sit with the person, talk, the 30 minutes conversation would, go up to 3 hours, 4 hours, like really bond well, and then come back and do the story. And suddenly one day I could not just go and meet people. I was stuck in the house, and then Instagram came up with this live video option, and then, things came up. So there are a lot of ways we can not get impacted or kind of give up, but keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes. So performing and teaching in diverse countries like France, Germany, and Spain, how do you incorporate elements of these culture into your choreography? Can you give us an example of one such fusion piece, which is also my favorite?
Yeah. So like in Europe, actually, doors were opened by my guru again. She's been coming to Germany, especially for many years, more than 25 years to teach. And she already had sowed the seeds in Germany. And then I try to continue because I'm living in Europe now. I'm trying to set myself in France, teaching and performing. So, what I would say is that people in Europe, they love India. They adore India. Everything they from spices to yoga to meditation to everything.
Yeah,
They love everything and anything to do with India, which is really amazing. And so Europe also, I think, is um, very rooted. You know, it's very rooted, and
right.
they still have the values and the traditions, but at the same time, of course, it's very modern and a Western world, whatever. But they really respect artists, which is so important. And whether you are performing in a big auditorium here or in a small, like a baitak, like we say in India, in a baitaki
Right.
event, the love and the respect which you get from the audience is really, I mean, it's incomparable. This I love about Europe. And of course, when you perform in Germany, the biggest positive or the happiness is that they are so technically sound, that light, sound, everything from before will be like so good. In France, they are very aesthetic, so
Hmm.
they will more concentrate on, "Oh, maybe this flower, this side, this thing, this way." So they all these things somehow merge with your performance, and it's a very happy merging. And of course, uh, you we try to do fusion projects. Like I mentioned, in China I am trying to do the same thing in France as well. I would love to create some piece on maybe some famous French poem or some French classics music, that will be, because I think this way then you can reach the audience or the reach that population very easily, because in France everyone knows this song by Charles Avenue, La Boheme. If I do a Kathak piece on La Boheme now, then maybe now I have 10 fans, the fans will increase to 30, because like, oh wow, this girl is not only doing her country's, her cultural thing, but she's also trying to
Bringing
communicate to
both.
us, and bringing both together.
Yeah.
So this is one thing. And you were mentioning, I can mention a project which is your favorite as well, is I came across this amazing flamenco dancer. I met her in Beijing. Actually, I met all my favorite people in Beijing, including my to-be husband. Everyone I met in Beijing. So I met this beautiful dancer, Magdalena, and then we started thinking what we can do together. Then pandemic, etc., etc. But finally, this year in January in Kolkata, we could stage this project called Aqua. It's a project with me, Magdalena, and my brother Shurama Pushan Dashgupta. He did the music and everything. And we are conceptualizing this, and we are trying to take it further, and not only as a performance piece, but also which will talk to the audience, talk to the people about environment, about water, about sustainability, about life and everything. What should be our duties towards our beautiful earth. And art-wise, this has Kathak, flamenco, and music, Indian classical, Spanish, folk, Bengali folk, Indian folk, Spanish folk. So we are trying to bring the arts together of the respective cultures, respective countries, and talk to the world, which is universal, on a universal topic, which is
Topic.
environment and
Water.
water.
Right.
You know? So this is our thought. We did our pilot project in January, and we are really looking forward to expand this and reach reach out to the world. And it's a very special project, and really looking forward to this. And I would also like to mention one incident from Beijing,
Right.
is which was very heartwarming for me. That as a Bengali, we always celebrate Tagore's birthday like Durga Puja. Tagore's birthday is
Yes.
like a huge festival for us.
Yes. I've
And
seen it few days back.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, this entire month, because it's also Kaji Nozrul Islam's birthday. So I mean, we know that in we have goddess puja and god, I mean the men. So we have Dev Paksh and Devi Paksh,
Okay.
right? This term is there. Like Devi
Right.
Paksh starts from Saraswati Puja, if I'm not wrong, like from this, and then all the Devis are worshipped, and then there's the Devi. So in Bengal, actually, we say Kobi Pokho, Kavi Paksh.
Okay.
Kavi is poet. So
Poet.
Nozrul Islam Tagore. Their birthdays are in Scotch in May, and this is our Kobi Pokho, Kavi Paksh. So we say Kobi Pokho, and there are back-to-back performances. So in Beijing, we started celebrating Tagore's birthday in the embassy, of course, and I collaborated with other event managers and artists. And once the first Tagore's birthday we did in a yard, and Beijing has this old houses which is similar to the Bengal old zamindari house. There's a yard and
Okay.
many rooms surrounding it, like uthon. We call it
Okay.
uthon, and there we did. It was a beautiful cafe. It was like a bed hug, and at least 150 people came. Songs after songs. I made my friends, my students translate the Tagore songs to Mandarin. It was screened. There were so many people, and there was no electric like big lighting, so there were only candles when it was evening. And all the audience, they were holding their phone torch. It was like we were on some, it was like heaven. Maybe this is heaven. The feeling was that. And one after the other Tagore songs. There was another girl, a very good friend of mine, Alif. She sang Tagore songs in Chinese, in Mandarin.
Wow.
Another very nice jazz singer. She immediately she wrote a poem there and then, and she sang it in jazz style. There were kids. It was an out of the world feeling. So, and Tagore is much loved in China, like other parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
So Tagore is, another person who has proven this point so much that art, creation, literature, dance, music has no barrier
No
really.
boundaries. Yeah.
And
No boundaries.
yes,
Yeah. Like
absolutely.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving to our next question. When you say boundaries, it takes me to migration. You've studied masters in migration. How is that integrated with your current life? And if you have one or two myths or misinterpreted things about migration that you can share with the viewers.
So this migration studies was my third master's. I have one MPhil and three masters,
Yeah.
third master's, and hopefully the last one. If I'm not again,
I'm not
inspired,
sure. I'm
I'm
not
not
sure.
sure. But I really enjoy because I really enjoy studying social science, and I really enjoy classes.
Right.
Attending classes, and I love exams. So this is a good thing about me. So I can do as many masters I want because I love exams. And I did my. There were two choices here. I could do an internship or thesis. I chose thesis because I don't like 9 to 5 job. I'm
Right.
not that person, and so I chose thesis. And my thesis was on my another love of life, Bollywood. I love films, and I love to watch films. And it was on how Indo-Pak border has been represented in commercial Bollywood,
Okay.
like Veer Zara, Bajrangi Bhaijaan.
That's a thesis you've done.
Yeah, that's my thesis, master's thesis.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So how Indo-Pak border has been represented in commercial Bollywood, because I
Okay.
saw that there has been lots of work done on the art films or the real political social narratives or
Like the
films, but not,
documentary
yes,
ones. Yeah.
documentaries, but not too much on these, because if you see, people have forgotten maybe the film Abhishek and Karina's debut film Refugee,
Refugee. Yeah.
but it was so good. And I chose four films where they have shown the love and friendship between the borders. So I chose Veer Zara, of course, Bajrangi Bhaijaan, uh, Refugee, and Mehuna,
Kargil?
Mehuna or PK maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so it was very special, and it was this I really wanted to do because we had this full masters on migration, and there was not a single module on
Hmm.
our partition. But till this, which is very shocking, because till now, by number wise, it was the biggest migration ever. But this is another truth of our world, because the Western world or the whites were not affected, it's not there in the module. I also said that openly to my professors, that why aren't we studying our partition?
Yeah.
It's the biggest migration number wise. And my supervisor was amazing. He fully supported me and he said, yes, you should do this, absolutely. And I would say migration has been a burning topic since the start of civilization. Civilization has happened because of migration. So migration is very important for everything, for anthropology and everything. So we really need to know migration as a separate subject. And it was very enlightening for me to study migration and the way the modules were set up. It was very interesting. There was social science, there were the present European laws, history, colonialism, everything was there,
Right.
other than, of course, what I complained about.
I
So it was,
remember.
yeah, it was, of course, very educative and everything. And it is, of course, a present topic in Europe, a burning topic. And you were asking me to mention something myths, is that when we hear migration, we immediately think refugee or
Immigration.
asylum seekers.
Immigration and migration are very much confused.
Exactly. So first we think immigration and airport at the
Yes.
counters, and we'll be stuck. Oh, do I have this? The anxiety. But everything is actually, if you have your papers right at visa right, nothing should go wrong. And
Yeah.
migration or migrant, the word migrant doesn't mean only the refugees or the asylum seekers. Everyone is a migrant. Right now, I am a migrant in France because I'm an Indian citizen living
Living in
in France
France.
with
Yeah.
my residence permit here. So there's lots of paperwork always involved,
Mm.
files, this, that, you have to prove this, you have to prove that. And of course, I aspire for a world where we will not need these visas or
Yeah.
these things. And my thesis was this Indo-Pak border and border studies. Border studies is a separate segment again under migration studies where you learn only about borders.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so border studies actually is my favorite part because I hate all the paperwork involved with crossing the borders. So actually to get rid of all this and to have a human world where we are all together and we do not need this, we only need the love and friendship. To achieve that, we actually first need to know that what is the real situation,
Understand this. Yeah.
understand this. So every day, all my friends in France, they are all, one from Singapore, one from Brazil, Argentina, and we are all actually migrants here. We are always discussing that, oh, my residence permit is expiring in these few months. How are you? What are you going to do? How are you going to apply? And there are so many organizations in Europe, so many NGOs, private sectors, and my friends are working there. Every day they are dealing with asylum seekers, refugees. To know all these rules and all these things, it's very overwhelming, and
Right.
it's an everyday life actually here. It's an every so actually I'm learning migration studies every day as I'm talking to my friends, as I'm dealing with. I do translations for my friends because there are many coming from Bangladesh in France, so and
Okay.
they cannot speak any other language, so I translate for them. So it's an everyday thing. We live this every day. So really,
How
I'm
many
really
people do you think in the world migrate on daily basis? Like,
we have
I know
to, of
it's a
course.
very, very, very
It,
open question. It just made me curious.
I think it's a huge number because I mean, if you in the States every day we have, and of course in Europe, Indians are less. I mean, I'm talking about now refugees or asylum seekers who are migrating without papers. From India, it's really less in Europe now, which is a very good sign because our country is doing so well that uh, the number is decreasing every day. But yes, and after also the Ukraine war, also there are many migrants now in Europe from Ukraine. So I think it's happening every day, and I'm not sure of the number. I'm sorry, but
No problem, no
I'm
problem.
sure
Yeah.
I'm sure actually from the world population, I think 1/20th or 1/25th are always migrating. If we consider all kinds, not only
Got
refugees
it, got
and
it. Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
work,
got it.
for students, everyone. I think a huge number, a huge percentages, they are always migrating.
Hmm.
And which is very good actually, because this is also again increasing the cultural diversity.
True.
You know, I mean, couscous and tagine, these are all, the African food. It's part of French cuisine now almost. You know,
Yeah.
there will be
Like, look at
many French or
Indian food also is influenced by so many different cultures.
absolutely. The younger generation in France or the next generation maybe will not know that couscous is not French.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
it will become a part of it. So
yeah.
yeah, like many of our Indian foods, like you were saying that, like you get French toast only in India.
Yeah, you get many such things in India, which you get only in India and not in those respective countries. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, moving to the next question, my last question, is you've also studied women studies, right? So, now talking about gender or ungendering the whole ecosystem, like how would you use women studies and that knowledge in dance, performance arts, and in your life to kind of gender, uh, finish the concept of gender?
So, my MPhil thesis, which we talked about before, was Kathak's journey and women's role in it. So,
Right. Okay.
and for me, I found this very, I will give you just two very simple examples that how gender is there in Indian classical dance practice. You see Birju Maharaj Ji, Kelucharan Mahapatro, all these amazing gurus who are men doing a Radha, and then you will, like, wow, there you are breaking that wall. Then I
Right.
remember in Frankfurt, I performed with my guru, my mother. We were doing this is another example. We were doing King Solomon's poems from Bible in
Okay.
Kathak with Tagore's songs instrumental, not the.
Wow. Hmm.
Yes, it was a very amazing piece. And there in one piece, my mother was doing the role of my lover, the man, and I was doing the woman. I mean, and I was on stage, I was like, wow, I'm falling in love with this man. And imagine, she's a woman plus my mother.
Yeah.
So that is the abhinay, or that is the power of acting and performance art. And she broke so many walls there on so
Right.
many levels, you see, because she forgot that she is Shurangama, she is Lokeshwari, mother's nothing. And that came like like an electric current to me, and I also skipped those walls and broke
Right.
those walls. So when you are in performance art actually, and if you are really practicing it, you are actually genderless and identityless. This is very important, I think,
Yeah.
for a performance artist. The moment you are on stage, please don't think I'm Lokeshwari. Oh my, this is my eyebrow fine? What will the, oh my, in the audience, my boyfriend is there. Maybe this. No. You have to transform yourself. You have to forget who you are. I think this is what I learned from my guru. and I really, really treasure it, and I really want to achieve it more and more because it's a process. It's a process where you
Right.
achieve that level. So yes, and for women studies, the department is called women studies, but it's gender studies. What we learn in actual, if you
Yeah.
university, it's the School of Women
Right.
Studies,
Yeah.
and I did a performance for 1 billion Rising. This was an international program for gender awareness, and I did a full performance, a full dance, like a piece with poems and songs and everything. That was a very enriching experience for me because we portrayed many things. We portrayed a simple girl from a village, an empowered woman, rape, and I was working with many dancers and to also teach them that you have to forget who you are and do this act like this. So it was a learning process for me as well. And I learned this from my mother because she has done many projects
Right.
for gender awareness, for women empowerment, for everything. So this I learned it from her and then I put it in my practice. And now, in the present scenario, I can just give you a hint that we are thinking of a project with my very good friend, Orchi. She's an artist.
I know her.
And yeah, so we are
Yes.
thinking of a project, Orchi, me, and my brother. And there we will talk about all this,
So,
being crossing all the walls and breaking all the walls rather and talking more about this because I think that like I said that when you are performing you are actually genderless, but at the same time I should also mention this that till now all the famous gurus, I think 80% of them are men in Indian classical practice. Like when you think Kathak, a layman who is not a layman,
hmm.
I mean a layman in this Kathak scene, who doesn't
Who's
know,
not? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, they all only know Birju Maharaj. You see? So this thing is also there. And I always also thought of that this thing also changed. This is also a historical anecdote, if you may, that before, when it was looked down upon that women should not show their body on stage, then in Jatra and all these folk dance forms or theatre forms, the men did the women's role. In
Okay.
Bengal also, in Kathakali also, in so men did the women's role, and then later when I was in school, I am talking about 90s, early 2000. Then it was a shame. A boy will dance. A boy can do break dance or hip hop, but not Tagore dance, not Kathak. So they were like, oh, you're
Again,
learning Kathak, so
differences.
you're a boy.
Right.
Then it was, and I'm from a girls' school, and it was very normal for us that the girls will do the boys' role.
Right.
So you see,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so ironic.
opposite actually.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
so ironic.
Yeah.
I mean, how to explain this? I really don't know how to theorize this. But this always, this has always struck me that what is this trajectory? Why this happened?
Right.
You know. And there are so many men who want to practice Indian classical, but they do not want to because, oh, if you are doing this, then you are. You see?
Yeah. I think in one of the recent movies of Alia and Ranveer, I think there was a small component that I remember suddenly that, he wants to learn Kathak and his family is not,
Yeah, yeah. It was
accepting of
very,
it and they're judging him based of gender and he actually turns up learning it. So also I think there's a lot of requirement for such taboos to be addressed on commercial media as well.
yes, is very important. That's why I was
Because
so
we like
happy
to
about
consume
your.
it. We like to consume the commercial media. So it has to be, uh, communicated to us in a way that we love to understand
Yes,
it.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially, yes, I loved the way they showed, the way they represented in Rocky Rani. Tota Roy Chaudhary, he played a Kathak
Yeah. Yeah.
dancer, and especially I think it is very important to do this all the more in our Indian classical and Indian theatre. These practices, because of also the costumes, because our costumes are really stamped. This is the man's costume, this is the woman's costume,
Yeah.
which doesn't really happen now in ballet or the contemporary styles in the States
That's
or
true.
in.
That's true.
So in Asia, in China also, I saw that all the costumes are all stamped. So in Asia, it's all the more, I think, important to break more and more these barriers, and it's so important.
Right.
And also, we have to start everywhere. Like I do Duolingo, and in Duolingo, they are now I see them that they have sentences of couples or those cartoons, I know, animated things of, and they show two girls, two men, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very important that we should start on every level to break these barriers and walls more and more, and of course through our performances, like what I said about this men doing women's role and women doing men's role. If I can come up with a script on this, or if I can think of a very popular mythological story which is maybe performed always in Kathak,
Right.
maybe I don't know, some Krishna story or some Shiva story, and we interchange the roles and see and experiment what happens. We interchange the characters. Maybe I can play Shiva and a man can play Parvati. We
True.
should play around with this, because also we have everything in our mythology. We have Artha Narishwar, we have all these things. So why
Yes.
not play around with it and do it our way? Because we have to reach our audience, starting from the farthest village to the biggest metropole in India.
Right.
So we have to reach our people, and we have to do this through the psyche of our people,
Yes.
and not
Audience are
what
the
we
heroes,
watch.
basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Because maybe what is happening in New York or in Berlin will not impact in Bangalore, because the
True.
psyche is different, everything is different. So we have to find ways and paths so that it will hit our people, our psyche,
Right.
and through our cultural path and notions.
Now I'm super excited to ask you if you can give us a very small performance. Request you for a small performance.
Okay. I was thinking of doing something with popular song. Maybe my favorite is Kishore Kumar.
Mine too.
So I was thinking of doing with आ चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले, because it
Yes.
has just a bit of it. Let me place this.
Yes. This is good.
Yeah. गामा कर्मा डिजिटल ऑडियो प्लेयर इस तोहफे में है 5,000 सुनहरे मोड़ और कुछ यादें।
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. Okay, and this is not
Thank
my
you.
first time that I'm seeing you. I had like such a good like I was so fortunate to exactly reach Kolkata by the time you had come back from France, and we got to spend
And
that 1 month
yes,
together. I saw your practice.
absolutely.
Yes, thank you for spreading that beautiful magic. It was so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and I really feel lucky that I know you, Sahithi, because we need people like you, because artists and uh, creative performers, they need support from people like you who are so competent in, in in the professional side of it, because we really need help with that always. And so I'm really blessed and happy that we are friends and we know you,
same.
and so that we can have projects in future together
Yeah,
and we can make this world a better place, like this
happy,
song said.
loving, better place. Yes.
एक ऐसे गगन के तले जहाँ प्यार ही प्यार पले. Yes.
Lastly, but not the least, is there anything that you want to ask me?
Yes. Like I was already mentioning that what should be the correct way or the solution that all the artists, who many are already forgotten, many are in oblivion, they are maybe hidden in some village in one corner of the world, and they
Right,
don't know how to bridge this gap and reach the people, and how art and performance can be also part of the mainstream world,
right,
because we are now living in a very commercial corporate world.
right.
And is there a place for this? Because I know that once you are tired of your corporate life, you want therapeutic session for your mental and physical health, and you would like to go for a yoga class or a mudra class or a dance class, but this cannot be the ultimate. There has to be, we have to be there with more innovations and more things. So what are your ideas? What are the possibilities?
Right. So, especially to this question, okay, I can look at it from the perspective of an enterprise, an entrepreneur, or like say somebody who has an academy and someone who's teaching, or it could be teaching in one place, moving across the world and teaching online. This is soft power, basically, right, of the country. This is the soft power. So this soft power is getting accumulated on the digital front much, much more than what it was before. But now, if we look at it from the entrepreneurship point of view, it is again a myth, which I want to break, that entrepreneurship has nothing to do with any sector. When art is nothing but a product, and the consumer is the audience. So once we can, convert the art into an economic sustainability for more than two people, and then through that, if we are creating jobs, is entrepreneurship. So so we need more artists and performance, I mean, leaders and creative leaders and artists who are there in this particular field must be, some of them should look at entrepreneurship, whoever likes the, aspect of business, who's business savvy, so that there is a mix, because we need more artists to become entrepreneurs so that artists are understood better.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So someone like me, I have like even when I previously the work which I did was, a lot to do with culture, a lot to do with heritage. I was in Auroville, and even after that, and while I was living in the US, again there was a global diversity. So somewhere like culture has been a very, very crucial element for me to always think or imagine entrepreneurship. So for me, an artist is equally an entrepreneur if he or she is passionate about. So all the incubators, all the accelerators, which are there in the country, and all the funds which are available. For example, Startup India Fund. So Startup India is fund is available for all the startups, including the ones which are creative, cultural, immersive, cross-cultural, or anything to do. For example, there's something called NASCOM 10,000 Startups Fund. So they also have some of these startups which are a combination of performance art and technology. So there is a lot which is happening in the last 2 to 3 years mainly. Also, they're not just there, but they're also coming to the
Yeah.
surface. So I request all the artists and leaders in this field to actually, approach and look at incubators,
Yes.
which are supporting entrepreneurs, so that we can chalk out a plan on how to, uh, yeah, I mean, how to register your academy, or how to have an online
Yeah.
presence, how can we have a money, how can we have a business model out of that, how can we improve our target. So we need to convert that into a business model, and then we are approachable to all the incubators.
Yes. So what I think is these are all amazing plans, but there are, artists who are really disconnected from this world. You know, they don't even maybe know what entrepreneurship is. Maybe he or she is already one,
Right,
but still do not know that. So maybe we can think of uh, sessions to teach them about this.
Right.
We can approach all the states, I'm talking about India now,
Right.
and to reach these artists, these indigenous artists, and talk to them about it and teach them about it, because many
Right.
also